season of lots of craziness. You could start off with the offseason with J.J. Redick getting hired, then the midseason trades of Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, Luka Doncic to the Lakers, and all the in-season head coach firings of Mike Brown, Mike Malone, I guess at the end of the season, Mike Budenholzer, and Taylor Jenkins. It's been a wild season from start to finish, and now we finally get to make our playoff predictions. All of the teams are set after last night's play-in results. From the West, we're going to have the Golden State Warriors competing as our 7th seed, and we're going to have the Memphis Grizzlies competing as our 8th seed. And in the East, we're going to have the Orlando Magic as the 7th seed, and the Miami Heat as the 8th seed. So now that we know our 1 through 8 seeds in both conferences, we can start making our brackets. Now, I did a bracket last year, and it was part of a bracket challenge pool group with a couple people from my college, and there was a $5 buy-in. I ended up being the most successful of that bunch, so that same group has decided to run it back once again for a $5 buy-in again, and I ain't gonna lie, those guys did not pay me. There was like 10 guys in the group, only 2 of them paid me, but that's fine, that's chill. But this year it's gonna be a little bit different, and I just want to come clean right off the bat. Last year, there were no Warriors in the playoffs, which was devastating for me, but logically, I think it does help me a lot. I think that when it comes to predictions, especially playoff predictions, I lead with the heart over the mind. So, last year, because the Warriors were not in the picture at all, I was able to make the most logical and sensible predictions, and I ended up being pretty on the money. I had the Celtics winning it all, and the Celtics ended up winning it all. This year, because the Warriors are in the playoffs, I really cannot help myself but be 1000% delusional. I think I'm aware of it. I'm aware that this is how I make my predictions when my teams are doing well. I'm an extremely delusional Warriors fan and an extremely delusional Patriots fan. I say with the Patriots, it's been tougher in recent seasons. I only give them maybe a game or two past where they should be. In Mac Jones's rookie year, I was saying like, yeah, I think we could beat the Bills, and then we got smacked. But I didn't have Super Bowl aspirations. I cannot necessarily say the same for today. So, while watching this, just please keep in mind that this is not necessarily what I think is the most likely outcome, but this is the perfect bracket for my team to do exceptionally well. So welcome to my NBA playoff bracket for this year. So we're gonna start off with the Eastern Conference because it's just simpler. Our first series in the East is gonna be between the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers and the 8th seeded Miami Heat. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers got off to a strong start to the season. They were on pace to be a 70-win team, and they had all sorts of chemistry, despite not really having a big second star. You've got the team being led by Donovan Mitchell, you have the new head coach Kenny Atkinson stepping in, and just a lot of really good surrounding cast. You've got Jarrett Allen stepping up, Evan Mobley stepping up, Darius Garland stepping up. All these guys who have been on the team, but they were just meshing in ways that they have not in the past. And for a large part of the season, this was the best team in the NBA. Now, in the last month or so, they have slipped a bit. They fell off that 60-win pace. Sorry, not 60 win, 70 win pace, and chalked up quite a few losses. I think at one point they even had 3 losses in a row. Nonetheless, Yes, they had such a runaway lead that they still finish about 5 games ahead of the Boston Celtics, and they are our 1 seed in the East this year. And the Miami Heat, on the other hand, their season has been lackluster. I think just a rough one all around. You start off the season already not on a great note, just knowing that this roster is definitely good enough to make the playoffs, but no hope has been added. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, this core has been able to make the finals twice in the past 4 or 5 years, mainly spearheaded by Jimmy Butler really taking off in the playoffs. But despite the fans' best effort and even the team's best effort, the front office just does not want to add another star or add another really helpful piece to this team. So you've kind of been just re-rolling with the same exact formula. And you get to the play-in, you get to the playoffs, you make like a decent playoff push, or someone gets hurt, and then it fizzles out. So Jimmy Butler and the front office, they start to butt heads a bit this season. Jimmy gets suspended once, twice, 3 or 4 times. They're clearly not seeing eye to eye on what the future of Jimmy Butler on the Heat is. And finally, he requests a trade. At first, they say they have no intention of trading him, I think. And finally, they'll give in, start to look for trade partners. There's rumors of him going to the Suns. There's rumors of him going to the Bucks. Rumors of him coming to the Warriors. Trade deadline gets pretty messy. All the rumors get out of hand. And eventually, the Heat are able to trade him away to the Warriors for probably a much lower asking price than originally thought, just because, back then they weren't willing to part with him. Now they're more desperate to get rid of him. And in this trade package, the Heat, the main player they get to acquire is Andrew Wiggins. And Wiggins has been very serviceable, even an all-star at one point for the Golden State Warriors. So him taking his talents to South Beach, maybe it can help keep them alive, their playoff hopes alive. Maybe he can elevate them, someone who is in it to win it, more dedicated to the organization. But all in all, no, they go on a giant losing streak. I think it was like, maybe not double digits, but at one point they went on like an 8-game losing streak. They did counter it with like a 5-game winning streak on the other end, but it was a streaky season, and they finished with a losing record. So they're fighting for their lives in the play-in, but after winning both play-in games, one against the Hawks and the first one against Chicago, they find themselves in the 8th seed. And I don't think there's any real way to sugarcoat it when we're talking about a Cavaliers versus Heat matchup. This is like the weakest Heat team we've seen in the playoffs in a while. Yes, Tyler Hero made a big jump this season. He is butting into a star. Bam, probably not his best season, but he's still playing really good basketball, still quite young early in his career. Wiggins had a couple heater games here and there, but there is just no one on this team that I think is going to lead them in this playoff push. And this is the best team. This is the number 1 seed. The Cavs have been rolling teams this year. Yes, they dropped a couple random ones here and there, but for this series, I'm going with the Cavaliers sweep. I think that they beat the Heat 4-0. I know that Spoelstra is a very talented coach, and he knows these players pretty well. They've been in this situation before. A lot of these guys, some of these guys have even made the finals, but I just don't think that they have the manpower to beat the number 1 team in the East even once. I think that this is a clean slate 4-0 win for the Cavaliers over the Heat. Now, moving into our second series in the East. This is going to be a matchup between the 4-seeded Indiana Pacers and the 5-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Now, quite honestly, this is almost deja vu from last year. We had a very similar situation in last year's playoffs. I think last year it Celtics and the 6-seeded Pacers. Now the Pacers finish as the higher seed. And once again, we're seeing a little bit of injury on the Bucks side of the floor heading into the playoffs. Last year, Giannis was out. I think he was out for the whole series. Yeah, and then even Dame sat out a game, and I think that was the one they won. If I recall correctly, Patrick Beverley goes for like 20 assists or something in that game. But yeah, the Pacers, an interesting season from them. I think Halliburton started off a bit cold. Wasn't quite living up to the hype that he created for himself last year, but towards the end of the season, he definitely picked up. I think that his assists came back in full form. I think that his shooting got better. He got his points up, and we got to see that semblance of point guardness from him once again. You know, he's now really in that same shape that he was last year. Early in the season, people were saying like, wow, we had totally overhyped this guy. But now that we've gotten to this point in the season, Pacers have the 4 seed, largely in part of him, Siakam, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin. I feel like he's been having a great season off the bench with these guys. Mostly young, talented, and they're building on their success from last year. The Bucks, on the other hand, an interesting season from them. They started off real low, as bad as the Sixers. Then Doc Rivers, I think he said like, it's time to lock in. I'm gonna start coaching for real now. I don't know if that's a real quote or if I was just kidding. What do they even call it? One of those other fake sports news sites. But it worked. The Bucks, after that, climbed back to 500, and then they got to a winning record. At one point, I think they were as high as the 4, maybe even the 3 seed. Maybe not the 3 seed, but they definitely were a bit higher. Dropped back down to the 6, and now they finish at the 5. Giannis had some great games. Dame also played pretty well at times. Maybe not as great as last year. But it was the return of Chris Middleton that was different this year. You have Chris Middleton playing in a plethora of games at the start of the season. Or not the start. Kind of in the middle stretch of the season. I had him in fantasy, so I remember he came back, he played for a bit, and he's just not the same old Chris Middleton that we all know and love. So at the trade deadline, they part ways with him, and they acquired Kyle Kuzma, which at the time I thought was actually a pretty solid pickup. Kyle Kuzma had been rotting on the Washington Wizards for a minute, and there was no real reason for him to be not picked up by any team. But after joining the Bucks, I thought that he'd be like a strong third option, and he's just been alright at best. So the Bucks not looking quite as scary as they have in the past, and with Damian Lillard's deep vein thrombosis, same thing that Wemby got, and got him sidelined for the rest of the year. He was on blood thinning medication. Dame was to try and get rid of this, and he has indeed shed it. So we will see him, I think, potentially in Game 2, but he has been ruled out for Game 1. So yeah, once again, a semi-injured Bucks lineup versus a Pacers team that's pretty healthy. And you know, I'm not gonna overthink it. I picked the Pacers last year, and I think I'm gonna pick the Pacers again this year. In the matchups that we've seen in the last 2 years between the Bucks and the Pacers fare quite well. They have a very quick offense. They get a lot of offensive production. And it's one of those teams where like Giannis can go off against them and they still might not win. I think we saw his best game ever last year, one of his 60-point games. That came in a loss against the Pacers. And there's something about it. I do think that the Pacers have somewhat been the Bucks' kryptonite in the last couple of seasons. And so the fact that they keep getting matched up in the playoffs is not ideal. And I think, yeah, the Bucks team just isn't as well-rounded as like seasons and seasons ago. I think my prediction is that the Pacers win the series in series in less than 7 games. It's going to be, once again, a disappointing first-round loss for the Bucks. And I do think that they're going to have a lot of thinking and pondering to do in the offseason. Even though the Dame trade made a lot of waves, it was really cool for Dame, it was really cool for the Bucks. It might be over. It might be, that experiment might be done. So, we'll have to see. Next up, let's go to our third series in the East. This is a fun one. We're going to have the number 3 seeded New York Knicks taking on the 6th seeded Detroit Pistons. That's right, we are watching Pistons basketball in late April. They have made the playoffs after having 3 straight seasons of utter disaster. Just hats off to the entire team, JB Biggerstaff, for turning this team around in just so quickly. Like, I don't know if anyone expected this. But let's talk about the Knicks first. The Knicks starting off the offseason with I don't know about league-altering, but just shocking trade. They finally get all of the Villanova boys together with Mikal Bridges, only to blow it up shortly after, getting rid of Julius Randle and Don DiVincenzo to acquire Karl Anthony Towns. I think, all in all, the trade has fared well. I don't know about long term, but I think for this season in itself, their starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns, with Mitchell Robinson, Precious, and who else is in rotation? I'm blanking, but overall they've been performing very well, especially when Brunson is on the floor. One cause of concern, they haven't been able to beat good teams. That is the largest factor against all of the big dogs in the NBA, being the Celtics, the Cavaliers, the Thunder. The Knicks finished winless. They could not take a single game from any of those teams. That's obviously not a great sign for their championship aspirations. They're going to have to get their first wins in the postseason against one of those teams. But right now they get to play against the Pistons team. And overall, when Brunson's on the floor, this team is good. I really like the Knicks when Brunson is playing. He is returning from an ankle injury. I think at this point he should be good to go. He should be pretty healed up because he played in the last couple games of the season, and I think that was mostly for award eligibility. I think he should have qualified with the last couple that he played, but I'll have to double check on that. And yeah, I like the Knicks starting 5. Now, the Pistons, on the other hand, they made a lot of offseason acquisitions. Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris. They decided, let's get rid of some of these young guns that are not doing anything. Let's go a bit older, get some vets on our roster. We got a new coach. Let's just change the culture here. No more hoodies in practice. No more chains. I think that's some of the changes that they implemented, and it worked. They went from one of the league's biggest laughing stocks next to the Washington Wizards to being good. Finished with a actually positive record. Kate Cunningham, a star, a full-fledged star in this season. Blake Beasley almost had the most threes in the entire NBA. Just got eclipsed by Anthony Edwards in the last game or 2 of the season. And yeah, no, the Pistons are rolling, which I never thought I would say in last year's playoffs to now, but they're doing really well. And I think it's just like the Lions, where there's this big underdog mentality, this underdog story where everyone is kind of happy for the Pistons. The city of Detroit just suffers so much, so when they start doing well, you gotta feel for them. Um, but when it comes to this series in particular, the Knicks versus the Pistons, I do think I saw this graphic where it compared the starting five of both teams, and every single one went in favor to the Knicks. Now, I think I agree. I do think I like the Knicks' entire starting five more than I like the Pistons. If we're talking about building for the future, yeah, I think that kid is great. I think that his ceiling is high. He did a lot of great things this year. He has been building, but he is the number one overall draft pick, so he should be progressing in that way. And yeah, but if we're talking about right now impact, I do still think that Jalen Brunson is the better player. So I've got the Knicks winning this series in 5 games. Not to hurt any Pistons fans that I might have out there. I think that it's very cool that you guys made it this far, and I do think you guys will win a game for sure. But there's a lot of guys in that building that have no idea what to do in the playoffs. It's just a very big, enormous jump for them to make. Whereas everyone on this Knicks roster, they were 1 game out from the conference finals last year. The guy that has me in the playoffs, he was in the conference finals last year as well. You've got a very experienced playoff coach. Just experience favors the Knicks. They've got the better team. I think that they can get it done in 5, even though this Pistons team is very easy to root for. And now we've got our final team, our final series in the East. This is going to be the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics taking on the 7 seeded Orlando Magic. The Celtics, they managed in the offseason to keep everyone. They didn't change their roster one bit. They just re-signed every single little piece that they had of this team. And I think that was the right strategy. You win a chip in pretty good fashion. You're the best team in the NBA. No reason to change anything at all. And I liked it. I liked that they retained everyone this season. Honestly, besides injury, I couldn't say they really had that much worse of a season. Obviously, they weren't as dominant. They weren't the number 1 team in the East, but they finished only 5 games away after being way behind at certain points. And throughout the season, they were always clearly the number 2. So all that means is at some point we're probably going to see a Celtics-Cavs matchup, and we're going to have to figure out who is the best team in that equation. But 1 and 2 are a league above the rest. I think all of us can easily admit that. And yeah, I feel like there's not that much to say about the Celtics. This team won the NBA Finals last year, and when they're all playing, they're really good. Even when one of them is missing, they're really good. You can have Drew Holiday sit out a game. You can have Porzingis sit out a game. You can have Derek White sit out a game. Maybe even Jaylen Brown. I haven't seen as much of how they play without Jason Tatum, but they're good. They're just a great team. And Mazzulla is a scary coach. I feel like just the way that he talks about basketball, the way that he sleeps and lives basketball, I would never want to face him. Just even in real life, I would never want to talk to the guy. I would want to observe him, maybe watch him talk to other people, but he is a frightening force. And yeah, they get sorry. I'm trying to figure out who the Magic's coach is. Jamal Mosley. Okay. I don't know why that took me by such a surprise that I didn't know that, but yeah, I had to go figure that out. Yeah, so that's the Celtics. The Magic, on the other hand, earlier-ish half of the season. At one point, they're really good. They're up as like the 3 or 4 seed in the East. But then the injuries started to pile on. You had Paolo getting out for at least a month. Then you had Franz getting out for quite a bit as well. And they got quite thin. But even when they were thin, they were battling. They were absolutely going out. Cole Anthony was popping off in so many games. And so they rallied. They pushed hard. And they just couldn't keep it up. The Stars came back and they did slip quite a bit. So they end up falling to the play-in. And they do well in their play-in game. They make it, no problem, as the 7th seed. And things are circulating about how the Magic have a positive winning record against the Celtics in like the last 2 seasons. They're one of the best teams against the Celtics. But it's such a small sample size. And I do think that like that's not truly indicative of like this being a rivalry or anything. That is just, it's really just a coincidence in my opinion. I think for the Magic, the acquisition of Contavious Caldwell-Pope, I thought it was going to be huge for them. I thought it was really going to elevate them to that 4, because I think they finished as 5 last year. I thought that the 4 was like well within play. They were going to get better, but he just hasn't been as effective as I thought he would be. And yeah, ultimately, the Stars being out hurt them. I think if we had a fully healthy season of Paolo and Franz, this would be a good team. But that being said, this is a horrendous matchup for them. The Celtics, the best 3-point shooting team this year. They've made the most threes in NBA history ever. And the Magic are the worst 3-point shooting team of anyone in the league. I think it's hard to win in today's NBA if you can't shoot the 3 ball, especially against a team that is the best at it. I think anyone on that Celtics roster could go off for a flurry. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jason Tatum, all 3 of them finishing with so many threes in the season. And sometimes you have random games where Al Horford will bury 6. You'll have Jaylen Brown burying 6. Porzingis, I've seen games where he'll just pull up from 35 feet because he has that range. And it's just like, they have a scary shooting team. A lot of these guys can't shoot now, especially with the development of Peyton Pritchard. And then the Magic, on the other hand, they're good. I mean, they've got 2 really good players, and outside of that, they have some depth. But I don't see them taking even a single game from the Celtics team that's so talented. So I'm going with a 4-0 sweep for the Celtics over the Magic. Now, let us move into the Western Conference. That was pretty long-winded, but I was doing a lot of like off-season and mid-season analysis. So let's move into the West. First up, we have our first seeded Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the 8th seeded Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Thunder, as I mentioned a couple times over, best team in the NBA this season. They were the number 1 seed in the West last year, which came as kind of a shock. They elevated so much in just 1 year. Dagenham winning Coach of the Year, Shea being an MVP talks, and this year they've been even better. After being the 2nd best team in the league for a long time, they were able to stay strong towards the end and take that title from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this has been a dominant season for the Thunder. I think at one point I saw that like if they had all of their 15-point, no, I think if you took away all of their like double-digit victories, if you took away all of their single-point victories and only left them with their double-digit victories this season, they would still be one of the best teams in the NBA. They would still be like 50-something wins, which is crazy. I saw another stat saying that the Thunder have been leading this season by over 15 points, by nearly the same amount that they've been trailing in games. So these guys are good. They're just certified ballers. You've got Shea possibly, likely winning the MVP award. Jalen Williams making the All-Star game this year after just getting better and better from his rookie year. Chet, though he was out for a good chunk of the season, he is back. He's been playing. I feel like I haven't heard as much about Chet, but just because the team as a whole has been doing so well, and because Shea individually has been popping off. But the roster rocks. They're good. They're really, really good. This year's Boston Celtics. And yeah, in the offseason, they were able to acquire both Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. Not too much, which is, at the time, I thought incredibly scary because they were already the one seed, and then they got better. And that's exactly what happened. They panned out great. They did get better, and they're a force to be reckoned with. Now, they'll be matching up with the Memphis Grizzlies, who are back in the playoffs after John Morant wasn't really around last season. He got suspended for his gun affiliations, and then in the small sample size of games where he was back, they did pretty well, and then got hurt. He was out for the rest of the season, so bye-bye Grizzlies. They were one of the worst teams in the NBA, but they were really, really plagued by injuries. One of the most injured rosters we've ever seen. This year, they bounced back pretty hard. They draft Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, and they actually get rid of Marcus Smart at the trade deadline, which I thought was, I didn't really know what to make of it, because I thought that Marcus Smart was good, but I hadn't been watching them. I've heard that Jalen Wells was kind of taking up his playing time, and the emergence of Scottie Pippen Jr. being a key rotational piece for them. They just didn't need Smart like that anymore, so he is gone. And this Grizzlies team, they're doing pretty well for a good while. I think they were able to climb up to as high as the 3 seed or the 4 seed with a month left in the NBA season, but started losing to a lot of, formidable opponents. And then, in a move that shocked, I think, everyone, they fired Taylor Jenkins. The team really just hadn't been playing around Ja as much. It was more so JJJ leading this team. And I don't know what really went into it. Reports are that they didn't like that it wasn't around Ja anymore. I don't know. It's hard to trust anything. But yeah, just like that, the winningest coach in Memphis Grizzlies history, Taylor Jenkins, the guy who had brought them to the 2 seed and the 3 seed in previous years, he's just gone. And now they're left with their EuroLeague coach. Someone internally got promoted. Used to be EuroLeague, some affiliation. I don't know what to make of it. I think everyone really lost faith in the Grizzlies after that. It's like, okay, I guess it's not really a scary team in that way as much. But since Jenkins has been fired, Ja has been playing a lot better. The Warriors Grizzlies, that was a thriller of a game in the play-in. Really could have gone either way at the end. And yeah, in the game against the Mavericks, a game of runs. They led by like 23 in the first half. Then they almost let the Mavericks get back into it, but they end up winning by a convincing amount. So they make the playoffs. And I think, though there is a lot of uncertainty in their coaching, overall the roster is nice. I think we should not forget about the fact that this team has won 47 games in a season. This is the wild, wild west that we're talking about. It is loaded. The West is absolutely loaded. As great as the Thunder are, this is a good team that they're facing. I think the difference in the East and the West is just that if you're the best team, you are almost guaranteed to go against a bad team, a team that has finished the season with a losing record. And that's a huge advantage. In the West, everyone. But the worst team in the West won 47 games, and I think that is still mighty impressive. That is still a great season and a lot of great play. So it's not like these guys don't know how to win, and they're just hoping for like a random upset. No, this is a good team. This is a good team of basketball players. So now that I've stated my case, I think it's going to be Thunder in 5. I think that that was all just leading to me trying to explain that I think the Grizzlies can steal one game. I think with the Mavericks it would have been a bit tougher, just because it's like, you guys did not really finish with a winning season. AD was out for the entire time, even though he was playing well. It's just like the other part of the roster is so depleted. But like this Grizzlies team, if Ja is feeling fine after that ankle roll injury, I mean, he put up good stats yesterday. I think that they can definitely take one game from the Thunder, and that's really all I'm expecting. I think Thunder in 5, and that's about it. Goodbye, Grizzlies. Next up, we have, honestly, one of the most exciting matchups, I think, in the West. You've got the number 4 seeded Denver Nuggets taking on the 5th seeded Los Angeles Clippers. The Nuggets, in the offseason, they lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but they gain Russell Westbrook, and that was an interesting move, I think, for a lot of people. Just to see, like, how will Russ add to this team. They signed him for a very small amount of $3 million. And yeah, I think they maybe lost another piece. But yeah, they roll out into the season. They play well. I really, them finishing as the 4 seed, it's more so a recent development. I want to say for most of the season they were top 3 seed, and I still feared them. I still feared them for a good amount of it. Even in the games where Jamal Murray was not playing, they plugged Russell Westbrook into the starting lineup, and they did well. And I think Jokic having another fantastic season, statistically his best season. The MVP race, one for the ages between Shea and him. But the Nuggets now, they fall to the 4 seed after being pretty good. Pretty strong throughout the season. They finish as the 4 after a slip kind of late, and that late slip, they panicked in the same way that the Grizzlies did, and they fired Mike Malone. And now Taylor Jenkins getting fired with not that many games until the playoffs. I think it was a shocker. I think everyone was way lower on the Grizzlies after that happened. And I thought it was silly. Just because it's like, this guy has done so much for your team. Maybe you don't agree with this coaching style, but like, this is an off-season move. This is not a right-now move. What are you doing? I think the firing of Coach Mike Malone is 10 times worse, because this guy got you your first championship ever as a team, right? Like, and that was 2 seasons ago. They won the finals. Then last year they lost in the second round in Game 7. And this year, you fire him and you fire general manager with like 10 games left, less than 10 games left. It's just bizarre. There's been so many in-season coach firings that are all inexplicable in my opinion. Like, they're all just bad moves. Just wait. I really don't think it's necessary. And so, the Nuggets, I don't really have as much faith in them after that. I know that Jokic is unbelievable. He is a force to be reckoned with. Jokic is phenomenal. He can really corral this team. And he can do amazing things on the basketball court. I don't know if the rest of the team really has the same ability as a couple seasons ago. I think that the roster construction is a bit worse. I don't think that MPJ and Aaron Gordon have been playing at their absolute best as they were a few years years ago. I think that Russ has been really good. I think that he is getting a brunt of the blame in the firing of Coach Mike Malone. But I don't think that he has been bad for the team any bit. I think that he's been pretty good, better than bargained for. I think that Murray is a playoff performer, so we'll have to see how he turns up in the playoffs. Regular season has been whatever, but we gotta see how, if he elevates his game once again. But right now, outside of Jokic, I don't know who you can bank on as like bringing their A game to the table, and I think having no coach is pretty significant. And on the flip side, you have the Los Angeles Clippers. Now the Clippers, I wasn't as high on them this year because they lost Paul George, and then they did make a lot of very solid moves. They got like Derek Jones Jr. They got, I don't remember who else they got, to be honest. They had a bunch of moves in the offseason where people were questioning. I think like they got Batum back. They got a couple guys where it was like, well, yeah, you lose Paul George, but you gain a lot of depth. And are they really even worse? And then you've got Norman Powell saying, addition by subtraction. We are going to be better without Paul George, which is a crazy statement, but true. I mean, Harden has to lead this team at the beginning. It's Harden and Norman Powell. Kawhi is out with injury for an extended period of time, and this team is doing just fine. They are not feeling the loss of Kawhi or PG. They're doing fine in this West. They're winning important games. Harden is playing great basketball. And then Kawhi finally comes back, and yeah, at the beginning, he's not doing all that much, but he doesn't really need to be doing all that much. He was just playing good defense, scoring here and there. And then after the All-Star break, this team has gone on a run. They have just been effective. They've been an effective basketball team. They're very good defensively. Yeah. They're kind of scary. They're kind of a scary team. We saw in the Warriors overtime thriller as the season finale, the Clippers and Warriors fighting for that last win. If the Warriors are able to get that win, they finish as the 6th seed. They don't have to play in the play-in tournament. The Clippers, if they win that game, they get to face the Nuggets. They bump the Warriors down. A lot to play for both teams. They're trying to fight for a week off, and the Clippers end up taking it in overtime. And Kawhi plays 47 minutes in that game, and I think that is really the scariest thing for everyone. Kawhi, healthy, able to log that many minutes. Now, other teams are in danger because Kawhi, as we said with Jamal Murray, he is a playoff elevator. He can do great things if he is healthy for a postseason run. And I think for this first series, he is healthy. I can't say it for anything past this series necessarily, but I think right now he is good to go. He is going to be playing his best ball. He dropped like 35 in that game. Harden, yeah, he has his playoff reputation, but as of right now, he's been playing really well. And I think that this Clippers team is wheeling and dealing. So in this first round, in the matchup between the Nuggets and the Clippers, I'm going Clippers in 6. I'm not even taking it to 7 games. I think that the Clippers look good. They look dangerous. They have a lot of experience on their side. They're very deep. The Nuggets, on the other hand, not as deep. Roster not as great as previous years. They just fired their coach. And there's rumors of locker room dysfunction. Just people checked out, not responding. That Mike Malone had no grip over them. I don't know if the players were all against Mike Malone or if they're actually at odds with one another. There's that clip of MPJ saying that he didn't know anything about Christian Brown's team dinner, but sounds not good in Denver. And so I don't think I can really have, like, it's a one-man show. It's really going to be a one-man show, and I think Lakers can deal with it. I think that they have the firing power and the defensive abilities to outwit this Nuggets team. So I'm going Clippers in 6. Now, we move into Western Conference Series 3, our third matchup in the West. This is going to be against the 3-seeded Lakers and the 6-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. The Lakers, you gotta admire how they've been able to do this season. In the offseason, they really didn't do anything. One of the most stagnant teams in the league. Made no changes after finishing where they did last year. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, the whole entire staff on that team, pretty much, not staff, but like roster, the same. The only change that you really make, you acquire Bronny James and you acquire JJ Redick. Now there's a lot of question marks of like, is JJ Redick really qualified to be coaching this basketball team? All of this is just being done to appease LeBron James, drafting Bronny. Like, are they really even committed to winning anymore? JJ Redick, he has done a fantastic job with this team. Starting off the season, Lakers were hot. They got off to a great start. Then they cooled off pretty quickly, fell down to like the 10th seed, and then they just picked back up, and they haven't really looked back since. They got back to a good standing. They were constantly in that like 4 or 5 mix throughout the season. Then you got the Luka Doncic trade, highway robbery between Pelinka and Nico Harrison. Just don't know why the Mavericks would ever make that trade, and it still doesn't look good. But now you've got Luka and LeBron on the same team. I gotta say, I didn't think it was gonna work as well as it has. I honestly did not believe that you could have a team of Luka and LeBron be that successful. They're just very ball-dominant players. They're just, after seeing Anthony Davis and LeBron, I thought it would be a weird shift to see just like two offensive powerhouses like this have to work together. Who's gonna get the ball? How's it gonna work? But it's worked quite well. And Austin Reeves has been spectacular as well. Really flourishing as the third option. I didn't know how he was gonna really do that well. I thought they were gonna have to maybe move him to the bench because you can't have Reeves, Luka, and LeBron on the floor at the same time. And now you absolutely can. They've been rolling. They are very much exceeding my expectations this season, and I have to give credit where credit is due. They're doing really well. Now, I still find it kind of weird. I still do think that their roster construction is a bit weird. I find it strange that LeBron and Luka can have this much success. I wonder how long that will persist for. Like, obviously Luka has completely taken over the team in like every category. I think his first couple games were rough, coming back from injury and just the shock of the trade, but after like the first 5 games, this essentially become Luka's team, and Luka has taken over the Lakers in a way that Anthony Davis never really could. AD did have a great start to the season, yes, but he wasn't dominating in all factors of the game the way that Luka does, because Luka is like, he's essentially just less athletic LeBron. So having these two guys, obviously a scary sight, and they're playing well, and JJ Redick's doing a great job. Yeah. What can you say? Timberwolves, on the other hand, bustling offseason, trading away Karl Anthony Towns after one of his best seasons, after you made the conference finals. After all this positive traction, your best season in history, basically. You nearly finished as the 1 seed. All these great things that you built on, and then you just decide to throw it all away. You get Julius Randle, you get Dante DiVincenzo, and you really change up how this team feels. Early in the season, fan of the move, but I think the most notable aspect of this roster is Anthony Edwards' jump, as a shooter. We all have been expecting Ant to make that jump from, just star to superstar, and I do think that, what he has added to his game is great. In one offseason, playing with KD and Curry, this guy led the NBA in three-point shooting, had one of the few seasons where 300 plus three-pointers were made. He's been healthy, he has been good. The T-Wolves, after the trade deadline, they've been rolling. Yeah, I think that they're kind of young. Anthony Edwards is young and hungry, and I think it's really just gonna have to be how bad do the Timberwolves want it, and this is where I start operating more with delusion than with actual logic, because logically, if I'm being honest, I think that the Lakers can win this in 5 games. But for the sake of my agenda, I've got Lakers in 7. I've got this being a competitive matchup and really taking on this underdog role, same way that he did with Jokic and the Nuggets last year. I think we all saw how they performed in the first round and we're like, wow, that's really cool. That was the Suns. You took out KD, you took out your idol. That's nice, but it's not going to happen again. And then they came out to 2-0 start, and it's like, holy hell, they might actually do this. And I think the Timberwolves are going to give the Lakers a bit of that same scare. They know how they're being perceived. They know that the odds are stacked against them. The other team is being favored over them, but they don't care. And the Lakers, I have no real reason for why they would perform poorly, just other than the Timberwolves might catch them off guard with, yeah. No, it's really a reach. It's just a reach that it goes to 7. They get outworked, maybe there's just some days where guys go cold. Austin Reeves has had a couple games where he's gone cold, and then maybe individually they can lock up one of LeBron or Luka and limit them in a couple games like that. But I do think these stars are going to get their games in. I think Reeves is going to have a great game at some point in the series. Ultimately, they'll win for sure. If the Lakers don't win this series, I would actually be extremely surprised. But I'm going to push it to 7. And finally, we make it to the last first round matchup in the West. This is going to be between the 2-seeded Houston Rockets and the 7-seeded Golden State Warriors. Now, the Rockets, they finished as the 10 seed last year. They went on a great run after the All-Star break. Were red hot. Looked like they were going to come for the Warriors 10 seed, and the Warriors were able to fend them off. In the offseason, I don't even know what they really did. They just drafted Reed Shepherd, and they mostly ran it back with their same core of Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason. I'm forgetting a big one right here. Yeah, Şengün, but there's another guy I'm thinking of that's pretty integral. Jalen Green. All these guys, and Stephen Adams, Jeff Green. You have head coach Ime Udoka. They were just better. They just developed. They just got better as a team. They went from the 10 seed to the 2 seed, and the entire season I was waiting for their slip, and it kind of happened. I think they fell to the 4 for a little bit, and then they just got back up to the 2, and they finished as a 2 seed. honestly a little bit flabbergasted by it. I don't know what to make of it. It's still kind of surreal that the Rockets finish as 2 seed in the West in an ultra-loaded West. You've got the Houston Rockets, and a lot of that is useful energy and coaching. But on the other side of things, we have the Golden State Warriors. And now the Warriors have had a very up-and-down season. Started off the season red hot, one of the best teams. They were second, just the Cavs, in the first 15 games. Then they went on a crazy cold run. Fell down to below 500. They had a losing record all the way down to the 12th seed in the West. Season looked cooked. Rotations were bad. Dennis Schroeder experiment was not working. And it kind of seemed like everyone was really mad at the front office for just letting this team die. You know, if you're going to let the team die, keep Clay on the team. If you're not going to let the team die, do something. You didn't get Lauri Markkanen, you didn't get Paul George, you just ran it back with the same team, and now it's not working. What are you going to do? How are you going to fix it? And they go out, and they pay a steep price for Jimmy Butler. They get Jimmy Butler, sign him to an extension. He's making like $60 million over the next 2-3 years. But you get that second star that Curry has been missing for quite a few minutes now. They're able to do it in 2022 without like a bona fide second star. Clay was playing solid and Jordan Poole was playing solid. They're both giving 20 a game, but sorry, no, that was the following season. But Jordan Poole was up and coming and Clay was still playing pretty well. But now it's been a minute since Curry has like a secondary scorer that can actually score consistently and like take defense's attention away from him. And with Jimmy Butler, you change that. You know, Wiggins, as great as he was never that threat in the defensive scheming. And Butler is like that. He has these games where he pops off, where he can have a 45-point triple-double. He can drive to the basket like nobody's business. And he has led a Heat team to the finals twice in the last few years. He is a star. He is definitely a star. He hasn't been at the best of at the top of his game the last 2 seasons. But you pick up an aging star, you at least make Curry happy, you make the fan base a little happy, see how it goes. And it went pretty damn well. Warriors picked back up. They went on this crazy winning streak. Where's Butler in the lineup, beat Curry in the lineup. They were one of the best teams in net rating. Became the best defensive team. Draymond now having a defensive player of the year campaign, which I'm gonna be honest, is crazy. Like 1.5 months out from the season, no one was talking about Draymond winning the award. He self-inserted himself into the conversation, and when it happened, I was laughing. I was like, this guy is so funny. Like, Wemby was fully out for a month, and after he was out for a month, all talk was Jaren Jackson Jr. or Evan Mobley Jr. Evan Mobley. And Draymond just like goes up in the press conference and was like, yeah, Wemby's out, why can't it be me? And everyone in the league collectively was like, yeah, fair enough, let's give him the award. Now, don't get me wrong, every time Draymond makes a defensive stop, I do say defensive player of the year, Draymond player of the year. I'm an annoying Warriors fan, of course I'm gonna do it, but I still think that it is crazy. He was able to just put himself in that conversation with a month left, and now he's the runaway favorite to win it. I'm not complaining though. I think it adds fuel to his fire. So, you've got this red hot Warriors team, the Timberwolves, the Clippers, and the Warriors, 3 of the hottest teams after the All-Star break. Now the Warriors, they did face some difficulty in their last 5 games. They couldn't quite get into the playoff picture as they were hoping to. But, in my opinion, this is the ideal matchup. Now, this is truly just me operating off of gut feeling, but I have never feared the Rockets as a Warriors fan. I see the Rockets on the lineup. I think we can win. Even last year, last year, Houston's going on that crazy run. Eason is talking up a storm on Instagram Live saying, like, Warriors, we're coming for you. Not a single bead of sweat on my forehead about the Houston Rockets. This is a franchise that we have owned, essentially. We do not get fazed by the Houston Rockets. James Harden, as great as he was in his prime years, as great as he was with Chris Paul in that one run, yes, that year I was sweating a little bit, which has always come out on top. So, even in this last game where Curry got out to 3 points, it was a shocker. Not just that he got out to 3 points, but just the fact that we lost, because I see the Rockets on the matchup, and I think, yeah, we got it. I don't care about how they're doing. I think we can beat them. I think that we do have a lot of real estate in Houston, and I feel the same way about this. I think that we've seen playoff Jimmy. We've seen how Curry has been playing since the All-Star break. Yes, he has had some games this season. I think he's had some of his best games. I think he's had some of his worst games this season. It's been up and down for him. But overall, Curry is playing well. He is still playing well. You can admit that. And Jimmy Butler has been an amazing addition for this team, for his ability to get to the line. And I think that the Rockets, as great as they are, they do foul quite a bit. And I think that the Warriors getting to the line is an underrated reason for why they can get past this Rockets team. The Rockets team is younger. I guess they're more motivated. Ime Udoka has experience as a playoff coach. But the Warriors, as a franchise, it's hard for me to pick baby like Şengün, who has never made the playoffs, Jalen Green, who has never made the playoffs, VanVleet, who has won a chip, but like a while ago, and even then, like the third best player on that team. It's just a lot of young, inexperienced guys. I think in over their head. And it's gonna be like the 2 seed versus 7 seed from a couple seasons ago, where you had the Grizzlies versus the Lakers. Yes, the Grizzlies, they're fine in the West. They have full confidence in themselves. They're a great regular season team. But this is the Golden State Warriors, who have won multiple championships. They're 3 seasons off from their latest one. They have been playing amazing basketball since the All-Star break. And I think that they do have a mental tilt against the Rockets. I think that the Warriors win this in 6 games. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think it'll be in 5. I think that the Rockets will play to their heart's content, and they'll steal a couple. But I do think that the Warriors can win this in 6 games. So, after 1 hour of yap, we have our first round completed. Let us move into the second round of the playoffs, and this will be a bit more quick because there's not as much backstory to provide. But starting off with the East, we're going to have the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the number 4 seeded Indiana Pacers. I was doing mental gymnastics like last week, and honestly, I don't know why, but I feel like there does exist a reality where the Pacers can beat the Cavs. But that's not based on anything. I think that's just like me being silly. And I'm already being silly in other parts of this bracket, so let me just keep it simple in the East. I think that the Cavs and Pacers, the Cavs are just a more dominant team. The Pacers, they did well last year. They made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they got swept by a clearly much better team. I think they're going against an injured Bucks team in round 1, and they have the Bucks number, so they'll do fine there. But then you're going to be facing the Cavs, who probably just swept, are extremely well rested, and you're playing on the road. I think that the Pacers, they lose. I think that they get a couple, though. I don't think that's an easy win for the Cavs. I think that the Cavs get taken to 6, but I do think that they will win that series against the Pacers. Then we move into the Eastern Conference semifinals, part 2, which is going to be the 3-seeded New York Knicks versus the 2-seeded Boston Celtics. the Celtics are a better team than the Knicks. And I think that they will perform better. But I think for the sake of my bracket, I need this series to go to 6 games because the Celtics, realistically, I think that the Celtics can beat the Knicks in 5 games. I think that they're capable of it. Thibs runs his players into the ground. Someone's gonna be tired. They're not. I mean, Mikael Bridges played every single game this season. Josh Hart, when he's on the floor, he barely sits. They're gonna be tired. They're gonna be worn out, and the Celtics are just a better team. So I think, and the Knicks weren't able to beat a single really good team this year, and it's gonna be hard to do that in the playoffs for the first time. I think that they can do that once for sure, but me saying that they can do it twice for sure is me being nice. I think that they're gonna be like, it would be like 2-0 Boston to New York. Maybe New York picks up 1, and then it becomes probably a 3-1 lead. New York holds it off, and then Boston finishes off. Wait. What am I saying? Yeah, if Boston wins the first 2 games, then New York wins 1, and then Boston wins 1, then they have a 3-1 lead, and then New York gets a second win to push it to 3-2, and then Boston finishes them off. Yeah, I could see it panning out like that. Maybe. Realistically, they can do it in 5. But I'm gonna say Boston in 6 over the Knicks. Give the Knicks a little bit of extra wiggle room. Then, going into the West again, this is where, it's getting kooky. It's getting real Delulu up in this bitch. We've got the Thunder taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, talked up a storm about the Thunder already, and I also told you quite a bit about how I feel about the Clippers. And the Thunder, they're not going to be fully rested. I think that the Clippers winning in 6 and the Thunder winning in 5, they're kind of in an even playing field. And then you've got a pretty cool matchup between Shea's team that traded him and Shea's new team. So you've got Kawhi versus SGA, Kawhi and Harden against SGA and company. I think that they're going to put up a fight. I think if Kawhi actually stays healthy for this postseason run, and he plays the way that he has been playing at the end of this season, especially in that last game against the Warriors, the Clippers have a real fighting chance. I think that they are going to cause problems for the Thunder, and the Thunder might get a little bit smacked in the mouth, because we saw how the Thunder did last year. I did predict that the Thunder would lose to the Mavericks in round 2. That was something I had in my bracket, and that is something that panned out correctly. I think that when you're going in inexperience, even if you are the 1 seed or the 2 seed, it's hard to beat a team that just knows how to operate in this part of the season. I think the Clippers have far more playoff experience, and I think the Thunder, they have 1 season under their belt, but after playing the Grizzlies, now they're going to be playing a team that has more experienced vets, and they have a real coach. It's not going to be as easy as people maybe think. So, I have this being a 7-game series, which eventually goes in favor of the Thunder. I as much as I do think that the Clippers are playing great, the Thunder are next level. And I don't think it's going to be as easy as people maybe think. A lot of people have the Thunder in their finals. And yeah, that makes sense. Like, if I was operating off of logic, I would maybe do the same. But I think there exists a reality where the Clippers, they win in 6 over the Nuggets, and then they push the Thunder to 7. And it's another year of like, wow, the Clippers were just so close. They look so close. And yeah, they're not going to make the Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to give them that much of a... No, I don't think that the Clippers are that good. I think the Thunder are still a better team. But I think it'll go to 7 games and be an extremely entertaining series. And finally, probably the series I'm lamenting the most out of any. If there's one series I really do not this is the series that I think, like, to me, matters every bit as much as the finals. Like, I have as much nervousness for this series as I do in the finals. I think for any other team, I can come up with like a cope, some sort of cope. This one, it will test me, and this is gonna be the number 3 seeded LA Lakers versus the 7 seeded Golden State Warriors. It will be a battle. It will be Luka and LeBron in AR-15 against Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Now, we saw these two teams battle quite recently, and the Warriors were able to take it, and I think that's a good sign, because whenever Curry and LeBron go head-to-head, it is a showdown. These guys always bring their A game. It's always extremely close, and it ends in like a 3 or 4 point game. I hate it. I mean, I love it, but I hate it. And I hated how we lost to the Lakers a couple seasons ago. Especially because one of my roommates is a huge Lakers fan, and I cannot endure that again. I cannot face that again. So I need us to win this series. We beat the Rockets in 6. I have the Lakers going to 7 against the Timberwolves for the sole purpose of they need to be tired against us. They have home court already, but they need to be tired heading into this matchup. We get that one extra game of rest. And I have the Warriors beating the Lakers in 7 games. Now, if there's one, honestly, this is the one that I'm the most nervous about. It's not that we can't beat the Lakers. It's just we always fall so short. Like, even 2 seasons ago, when we lost to them in the playoffs as the 6th seed and the 7th seed, it was really right there. If Poole hits that 3, we win that one game. There's another game we don't look at one. And it's just like, it's games like those where you lose the most sleep over it, because it's like, change 1 or 2 little things and you don't like it and done it. So yeah, and it's LeBron versus Curry. It's just, honestly, LeBron versus Curry in the second round, I think he'll have as much viewership as the actual NBA Finals, if I'm being honest. It'll be tense. And it's a shame that it won't happen in the Western Conference Finals. We've got round 2. And I'm going with my guys. I'm going with the Warriors over the Lakers. We get the best of them. Batman and Robin over whatever the heck you want to call LeBron and Luka. Alright, and that moves us into our conference finals. That brings us to our Eastern Conference Finals, and this is going to be the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers versus the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics. This is the matchup that everyone has been waiting for on the East. I think that we are going to end up with it. I don't really see anyone in the East getting to the spot except for these 2 teams. They're just by far and away the best teams out there. And I think when it comes, like, when push comes to shove between these 2 teams, I have a lot more faith in Celtics. The Cavs, they did a great job this season. They racked up a lot of wins. They had great chemistry together. But I just don't trust their players like that. Donovan Mitchell, we've never seen him go this far in the playoffs. He plays well in the playoffs, but his teams always fall apart. First year coach Kenny Atkinson. I know that he's coached before on previous teams like the Nets, and he's been a great assistant coach for the Warriors. But his first season with this team, can he go all the way to the finals? I don't think so. With this, I don't believe in their star power like that. I think that Garland, Allen, Mobley, they're all great guys, but I think the roster that the Celtics have on the other side of this with Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Porzingis, if these guys are healthy, I'm taking them. I'm absolutely taking them. With that being said, I think that this will be a well-fought matchup. I think that they will battle it out. think it will go to the 7th game, probably to the final minutes. I think that the Celtics will have to earn this. They'll have to fully earn their right to be in the finals. But I think I'm picking the Celtics over the Cavs. I just don't have the faith in the Cavs like that. So I've got Celtics in 7, advancing to the finals for a 2nd year in a row to potentially run it back, go back to back. And then we have the West. Where we've got the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the 7th seeded Golden State Warriors. And, everything I said about them being young and inexperienced and not going as far in the playoffs, now is when that's going to take place. I think now they're in over their head. Last year, they made the playoffs. They won in the first round pretty convincingly, but second round they met their match in the Dallas Mavericks. They just, even though they had a great season, even though they're the best team, couldn't get past a team that just had more experience, knew how to navigate these waters better. You get to the last round of the playoffs. Yeah, I'm going to say that the Thunder can get further than they did last year. I think that the Clippers will give them a run for their money, but I think that they'll be a little bit. I mean, obviously the Warriors will be going to 7 as well. They'll play more games in their first series, but I think that the Thunder, they aren't really conditioned for May basketball. I think that the Warriors are. I think that these guys have played in the postseason. Maybe not some of the younger guys, but between Draymond, Jimmy, and Curry, all your main guys, they know how to navigate these waters. Jimmy has led an 8-seeded team all the way to the finals on his back. Curry, a couple seasons ago, taking the Warriors to the finals. You look at that supporting cast, no one even thought that we're gonna repeat. No one even thought we were gonna win that season. I think it's one of those things where it's just like, we have the experience, we have the dogs, and I think the Curry and Jimmy duo will help elevate us. And we're also one of 2 teams that have a winning record against the Thunder this year. We went 3-1. The only other team to go 3-1 against the Thunder, the Dallas Mavericks. And so we have the in-season note. I think, we've only ever played the Thunder once, and it was a crazy series. This is the craziest part. The craziest part about this series is I have the Warriors winning in 6. For health reasons, I think that the Warriors win in 6. I think, for my further reaching, I have them beating the Thunder, catching them off guard, just outmaneuvering them at their own home, and sending the Warriors to the finals. And finally, that leaves us with a rematch of our championship matchup just a couple seasons ago between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. And this time, both rosters look different. You've got, on the Celtics side of the ball, lots of new additions. You've got Drew Holiday, you've got Kristaps Porzingis, you've got, Joe Mazzulla. These guys, they're a different look, and they're a much better team. And they just won the chip. But since the Warriors and Celtics played, yes, the Celtics have blown out the Warriors a couple times, but the Warriors have fared well in some of those games. Curry still does have a minority ownership in the Boston Celtics franchise. I would say there's a little bit of real estate there, just as we established with the Houston Rockets. I think there is a bit of extra oomph that Curry is going to give against the Celtics. Additionally, the Warriors now have Jimmy Butler, and I think that Jimmy Butler loves to play the Celtics. I think the Heat-Celtics rivalry is one for the ages. I mean, it's sad that we'll never get to see it again, but we still get to see Jimmy against the Celtics, and I think both Curry and Jimmy will be motivated to an infinite degree. And I think even Draymond will have last time, how he got played off the floor last time and he had to get benched. I think all three guys will be seeing red against the Celtics team. I think the Celtics, well, that's the Celtics. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be an uphill battle for sure. But I got the Warriors in 7 games, winning the finals. Curry's 5th ring, Jimmy Butler's 1st ring. Everyone rides off into the sunset. Draymond wins Defensive Player of the Year. It's the ultimate ending. I will cry. I will legitimately cry if this happens, probably, because it's such a fantastical ending to what has been an up and down season, but all the signs are pointing to it. Kendrick Lamar released an album. The Warriors in their first 10 games, their record, it points to them winning the finals. I got a new piece of Warriors merch. So whenever I get a new piece of Warriors merch and I start wearing it during the playoffs, like I got my lucky jacket last time, and every time we won, I got the jacket, we won the finals. Who can say if they're connected? So yeah, all roads lead to Rome. All signs point to the Warriors winning yet another NBA Finals. And so I'm not here to spoil your party. I'm just here to relay the truth, how I see it. This is the future, and I'm the prophet that has been tasked with dispersing this information. So you might hate it, you might reject it, but in the end, it is inevitable. So when you see the Warriors win the NBA Finals over the Celtics in 7 games, think back to this guy. Think back to the guy who told you. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. We live and we learn. So yeah, that is all. Thank you for joining me and indulging in my delusions for yet another time. It's been a minute since I made a video, and it's really just because I haven't had time. It sounds like the games have started in the living room. My roommates are now talking in the living room, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But yeah, I've just been busy. It's not lack of motivation. I really wish I could make more videos, but I just working 20 hours a week, plus still being in school, plus leading a club. I did get in over my head a little bit, so I just have no free time. 9 to 5, I'm busy every single day of the week, pretty much. And then like Wednesdays, sometimes I have time, but my Wednesday-Sunday plan has not been working because last Sunday I had food poisoning, and then the Sunday before that, there are a lot of people that were over at my place for Deltopia, which is like a day party on Saturday. So I couldn't just like scrunch up in my room and be antisocial. So yeah, it just didn't really work out. So I apologize, and I think it's gonna be inconsistent for a minute. But I don't take this as a sign that the channel is going away. The channel will still be something that I care about, and I will try and make more videos. I'm really hoping that I can get one out before the draft. I want to make that mock draft video on Wednesday and see how it lines up with Thursday's draft. So fingers crossed that I'm able to put that together. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoy content like this, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos as the weeks progress. Yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you